Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Friday and it is gray as can be. It's about 7:43 in the morning. Yeah, I'm just out and about. Anyway, you know, I don't know how to put all this into words, but I'm gonna try. It's about the youth of today. It's about just what I keep seeing, what I keep running into, what I keep hearing, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm 53 years old and I've got 2 kids of my own. They are in their early 20s in university, and I'm gonna tell you right now, the problem with kids today are our fault. Our generation, the X generation, they're all our fault because you know, kids just aren't getting the education, or didn't get the education that we got. And when I say education, I'm talking about what you get. The education, you know, education starts at home. And you know, I had a pretty good education growing up. It wasn't always, you know, easy, I would say. My parents, you know, had work to do, you know, raising us. We were a pretty big family. There was always those things going on, you know, but we were also a very busy family, you know, when it came to sports and school and this kind of stuff. And I was not a big fan of my classes, and this goes back to, I would say, the 1950s, when basically what happened is that schools started, you know, consolidating, and are even doing even more now, because you know, and so you have so much an impersonal, you know, education. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, I mean, you got a teacher that only gets to see you 1 hour, you know, a couple of times a week, maybe not even that, maybe once a week for a class in math or whatever, and you know, you're one of 20 or 30 kids in a class, and you're not getting that personal education that really you need. I mean, I was really behind in math. I mean, it just didn't, it's not that I didn't like math, I just didn't understand it. And it just sort of went over my head because it wasn't brought down to my level. Even when I went back to university, I took Math 101, general math, and it was just, that was just, first of all, having to study math at university when it wasn't even my major was already a joke. I'm sorry, but it is, you know. But anyway, so if you want to study the sciences or math or engineering, yeah, I mean, you need that. Medicine, this kind of stuff, yeah, you need all that stuff. But I mean, I was studying history. And I probably would have studied architecture or something else if my math would have been better, you know, growing up. And I remember I was in an accident when I was 15 years old, and I was at home for 3 months. And the parish, because I'm from Louisiana, we have parishes. The parish sent a teacher to my house to see me several times a week, but she was a math, but I had no math classes that semester, that year. So she was a bit lost on how to teach me. If I'd had math, I'd have probably had the perfect moment to be able to understand and learn math, because I had one of the best math teachers, you know, in our whole parish, you know, teaching me, Miss Nettles. You know, her son taught me math, and her husband would go around, and he was this great math guy. I mean, he was just able to just throw a lot of numbers together and give you calculations that were incredible. Anyway, but getting back to what I'm talking about here is that, you know, school is so impersonal, and education at the house is lacking a lot also. And even from our generation, it got, with more technology, it got to where, you know, television was whatever was getting the attention of your kids the most, that they were more impressed with, is what was educating them. And now, I mean, even my own personal life, I mean, I have 2 kids, but I have one of them who's, if I can give you a little personal, who's not really, you know, speaking to me right now because I'm trying to say this without giving up. I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, because this child has been indoctrinated by the schools and by studies, and so because of that, there is a problem there. You know, because I'm the evil one. You know, I'm a white male, you know, who's a certain age. And this is across the board. You see this, and this all goes back to that basic education. Is it my fault? I take a lot of blame for that too. Yeah, I mean, hey, I should have been there more, and I wish I would have been there more. Of course, situation wasn't very good because my kids, my ex-wife and I, we became ex, over 11 years ago, and that sort of broke up the house, or broke up the home, the family, and what that does in the end, it damages the kids more than it does the parents, So, and that was a problem. And I had to move farther away because of work and this kind of stuff. But and I had to get away from the ex-wife, because she was toxic to me also. But anyway, I see this, and I'm sort of reminiscing about, how these teachers, are basically teaching all this SJW stuff, all this, men are evil, the patriarchy, all this kind of stuff. And you know what? I'm sorry, but at my house, my dad was not the guy in charge. It was my mom. He would say, ask your mom. He would say, so this is what was happening anyway. So, I mean, it wasn't like you're in a situation where you're growing up where, you have a father who's, and mine was pretty tough in the very beginning and he relaxed in the end. But he did the best he could with what he knew how to do with also, and how he was raised. But right now we're seeing these kids and they're just, they don't even, there's no manners about them. One of the things that's really good for kids, and I think, is outdoors, nature, and you're seeing less and less of that. They're more indoors, they're more behind their computers. COVID has caused a huge problem, and constantly indoors, and now they're indoors alone, they're behind their computers all the time, and behind that computer, you can either do things for good or do things for bad. And I'm sorry, the bad really outweighs the good on those computers. I mean, I use my computer for the education I get from it. It's so much to learn, and I really appreciate that. But kids today are just not. They're getting the porn and everything else from that. But going back to, that's one thing. I love scouting, the Boy Scouts of America. I enjoyed it when I was growing up. I was a part of it with my son. He earned his Eagle Scout, and I was there as an adult leader in the background. And I even went farther and took more courses to not advance myself in scouting, but so I could learn more, and attending like Wood Badge and courses like that. And then I became a trainer, and I was training adults, and I really enjoyed that. And that goes on to what I do now in bushcraft. I train outdoor education. I've even taught outdoor education at university, and I see there's such a positive thing there, and it's something that I think that what we see from the left is coming in. And look, right now the Boy Scouts of America are in bankruptcy. Why? Because bankruptcy litigations, because there were individuals within the scouting movement that did things to youth that they should not have been doing. Not only was it illegal, but it's completely wrong, and that has fostered a lot of adults. Even I've had conversations with adults who would spit on the scouting movement, and talk about how bad it is. And yeah, there are still individuals in scouting who they think they're doing the right thing, but in reality, it's about control, it's about this and that, and it's really nasty. It's become a nasty thing, and it's gotten so far away from. And with my involvement in scouting here in Switzerland, I mean, you had so many parents who were so from so many different directions that they didn't want to do the program. They wanted their kids basically to come in and not have to do the program. The program's a very good program. It's a very good educational program. And boys and now girls think, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy that there are girls involved in scouting now, but because I would love to have had my daughter involved in it. But there is so much to learn in leadership and in outdoor principles, and I mean, and then you go into the merit badge program, and there's so many different things they get a little taste of something, from communication to public speaking to medicine to working with animals, veterinary science to cooking, all this kind of stuff across the board. And so it's a really good program, a really good movement, and it's been attacked from the left now, and they're trying to get rid of it. Why? Because it's a more conservative movement. It has much more conservative values, and it's putting, scouting teaches leadership, and what does leadership do? Leadership leads, and they don't want people with the conservative values leading from the left. And so that there you have a problem, you know. I work with young kids who are in their teens and have problems, and you find out, sadly, even after they leave, they go back into these environments that you've tried to help them find their way out of, and sometimes they fail. They go right back into it, you know, and it's sad. It's sad. Anyway, I'm sad about a lot of stuff I see and I hear, and the television is full of stories. When you see kids out there, right? You know, everybody should have a public voice. Everybody should. And I believe in the First Amendment. I don't believe in the violence that's behind it, and how they're teaching violence, and how you see, you see a professor, this little redhead professor, who in the end got fired, but she probably went on to another school, pushing students who she's been indoctrinating on the left. I'm gonna tell you something. This whole indoctrination program, the result can be like Cambodia, where you had a movement where the kids were indoctrinated, and it was the kids that were murdering their family, their parents, their uncles, their grandparents, because they were cleaning the slate. Okay, they were killing the teachers and the judges and the lawyers, and the leaders in their communities, because they were taking over. And this was led by the Communist Party. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing it in the beginning of the violence. Believe me, I promise you this. If they could, they would line up every one of us, those of us who are more conservative, and they would either put us into camps, which is what they're doing right now with COVID. They're putting people into camps. Look at Australia, what they've been doing. But they'd be separating us even more and spotlighting us, and then next thing you know, you're getting arrested, or you're getting shut down, or even worse, in the future it could be a firing squad. And then you have the killing fields like you did in Cambodia. This is something we have to be aware of and be wary of. It's something we have to be careful of, and we need to fight back now. And if we don't, it's going to be those of us who are going to be in the bad places in the future. I'm not saying go out and be violent. What I am saying is that we need to take back control of our educational systems. We need to become adults. And if you have kids, you need to take that responsibility and not be one of these parents that just sort of, don't correct your kids, or and I've seen that also. It's so ridiculous, because the kid, it becomes Lord of the Flies, There are a lot of good kids out there. Lots of them. Most of them are good. And I always look at also is that the moment a lot of these kids who are in college or SJWs, the moment they find a real job where they really have to work and support themselves, they tend to see the real picture and understand. Something I've always told my son: if you want to be in charge of your life, get a job and pay your own way, and then no one's going to be telling you what to do. Well, not your parents, that is. And so it's just one of those things that I was taught, that I strove for. That's why I joined the Army at 17 years old. That's why I didn't get out of the house because I hated home. I got out of the house because I wanted to see the world. I wanted to lead a life. I wanted to do other things. And I wasn't even really interested in politics when I left home. Nowadays, you got 16-year-old kids telling you about how great Joe Biden is, or something else. It's just you reap what you sow. And right now we're seeing a lot of people who voted a certain way. I see them, they don't want to talk about how bad the situation is. They keep bringing up Trump in their conversation. And they're not bad people, but they don't have an argument. They just don't have an argument. And yeah, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I was never a fan of his. I'm not a fan of any politician. But he was breaking the system. And it's a bad system. Because the system is ran by individuals, not by we the people. That's the problem. And what we see here is we see a situation where there are people out there, different organizations, You know, it's like I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast when he was speaking with Oliver Stone about JFK, and I was saying these guys are putting all this together about how the CIA and all these elements, this kind of stuff, the military complex was all behind this killing of JFK, and I was thinking, are you guys not putting the same puzzle together when it came to Trump and how he was firing generals left and right, you know, for everything from Mattis to Clark, all these people, because they were part of the system. They're part of the swamp, you know? And then you see it. It was clear as day. I mean, I could say, how am I the only person seeing this? And here they are talking about it. They're still talking about Trump. Sure, Trump is an individual, a narcissist, you know, all this kind of stuff. But what I liked about him is that he was breaking the system, because the system needs to be broken. It needs to be changed so we can return our country, and this is across the world, our countries back to us. So you don't have individuals like Putin and Trump and Biden and Macron and all these across the board, you know, running countries. You know, we need to have more collective running, where there's more people running it. Our countries who are, you know, more of us running it on the local level. And that's where we got to start, winning on the local level. Forget about the national level. We got to start winning on the local level. So, but education starts at home, and it all goes back to your 1 square meter. You know, yourself. As an individual, you got to master yourself before you can expect anybody else, before you can go out and master something else. And if you haven't mastered yourself, then all you're doing is, and that's what you see. You see people go, these SJWs, what they are. It's funny. I mean, you see them and you look at them, you go, what the heck, you know? How are they have so many personal problems, but they want to go out and try to fix everybody else's problems. Fix your own problems first. Master yourself, and then get out there and start helping your community and others who may need help. Because there are people who need help and deserve help. But you got to get yourself in gear. Anyway, I don't know if I'll post this or not. A little bit of a rant, I guess, on the way to the grocery store this morning. But I hope you all have a good day and a good weekend. Super Bowl weekend coming up. I'm supporting the Cincinnati Bengals. Even though I'm a Saints fan, I'm a big-time Saints and LSU fan. I went to LSU, and I've always been a Saints fan my entire life when it comes to football. And because I've always had this little thing for Cincinnati since I was a kid. I guess it was like that. I always liked their uniforms, but their helmets, I guess. But now that Joe Burrow is with them, I really, you know, I really like him, because even though he's from Ohio, he's more in the hearts of Louisianians. Anyway. Listen, I hope you all have a good weekend, and whoever wins, I hope you all have a safe and happy weekend and a really good time. I plan on being up all night this Sunday watching the game myself. It takes 4.5 hours. That's almost from midnight till 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning watching the game. So I'll be doing it. But anyway, I hope you all have a good one, and take care. Goodbye.